The princess's choice, the great royal hall of Valerian Prime, was filled with noise. Nobles in glowing robes, advisors with shining implants, and warriors in golden armor stood in rows. At the center of the throne stood Princess Lyra, proud and cold, her expression unreadable. Today, she had to choose a husband. It was not out of love. This was tradition and alliance formed by marriage to strengthen the empire's control. The royal council had already selected strong suitors, champions of war, rich noble sons, or alien generals from allied worlds. But Lyra had no interest in any of them. She turned her eyes toward the last row of guests, where a small group of humans stood awkwardly. Among them was a man who didn't seem to belong at all. He had no armor, no shiny skin or glowing eyes. Just simple clothing, dusty boots, and calm brown eyes. His name was Jace, a farmer from Earth's outer colony. He had been invited only as a formality. No one expected her to even look at him, but she did. "I choose him," she said, her voice loud and clear. Gasps echoed through the chamber. "The human?" One counselor asked, shocked. "A commoner?" Another whispered, "Princess." Lyra smiled slightly, amused. "Yes, he looks simple. That suits me." The council protested. Some shouted, but tradition was law. Her choice was final. Jace stepped forward slowly. He didn't bow. He didn't smile. He just looked into Lyra's eyes, and not a dot. She studied him. No fear, no pride, just calm silence. Was he too stupid to understand what just happened? She wondered. Or did he not care? The wedding was rushed. No grand celebration, no feast. Just a cold ceremony under ancient banners. Lyra didn't even speak to him after the vows. "He's just a farmer," she told her handmaid later. "I chose him to annoy the council. He'll do as decoration." But strange things began to happen soon after. 3 days later, Jace wandered. The palace, lost in its endless halls. He found himself drawn toward a sealed chamber no one dared enter. Its door was covered in ancient symbols, and in the center of the room stood a heavy black stone. In it, an old blade was buried halfway, glowing faintly under the dust. Jace stood before it, staring. Something about it felt familiar. He reached out to touch the hilt, but stopped. A whisper echoed in his mind. "You are not ready yet." Startled, he stepped back. The glow faded. Elsewhere, the council held a secret meeting. "This is an insult," one elder said. "A human? A farmer? In the royal bloodline? He must be removed, quietly. The princess will not protect him. She does not love him." They all nodded. The plan was in motion. In the royal training yard, Jace stood at the edge, watching alien warriors train with spears and staffs. One of them, a tall insectoid soldier, noticed him. "Hey, little human," the alien shouted. "Want to join?" "You? You can hold a stick while we fight." The others laughed. Jace stepped forward without a word and picked up a wooden staff. He didn't know how to use it, but as he gripped it, his stance shifted. The first warrior charged. Jace moved smoothly, dodged, and swept the alien's legs in a blur. Another attacked. Jace spun and struck him in the chest with force that knocked the wind out. Silence fell. He dropped the staff, confused himself. Where had that come from? The princess had watched the whole thing from her window. Her lips parted, slightly surprised. That was not normal, she whispered later that night. As Jace walked past the sealed blade chamber again, he heard the whisper once more. Soon. And this time, the blade glowed brighter than before. Asterisk whispers of the bladed Jace could no longer sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard a voice not loud, not clear, but soft and ancient. It whispered in a strange language he somehow understood. return. To me, rightful hand, awaken the stars. He tried to ignore it. But each night, the whisper grew louder. And each time he walked near the sealed chamber, the blade's glow brightened, pulsing like a heartbeat dot in another part of the palace. Princess Lyra sat with her advisors. Her face was calm, but her mind was troubled. "He beat 2 of our soldiers in training," she said quietly. "They were being playful," a counselor replied. "No," she said, eyes narrowing. "He moved like a warrior. His eyes didn't blink. His hands didn't shake. That's not luck." They all went silent. Lyra stood up. "I want to know more about him." Later that evening, Jace stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing cities of Valerian Prime. The air was filled with floating lights, slow-flying transporters, and alien birds that shimmered in the dusk. The princess joined him silently. "You don't speak much," she said, arms crossed. "I only speak when I have something worth saying," Jace replied softly. She frowned, not used to such answers. "Are you angry I chose you? As a joke?" Jace looked at her. "You can laugh, but I'm not here to be weak." His voice was steady. His eyes were calm. For the first time, she felt unsure that far below the palace, in the Forbidden's vaults, and high. Old historian opened sealed archives. The system had flagged something strange. The blade had activated slightly for the first time in over 3,000 years. The historian's hands trembled as he pulled out ancient scrolls. One scroll described a lost Terran bloodline, a king from Earth, who vanished in the early days of the Valerian rise to power. His blade, forged with stardust and bound to blood, had been sealed forever. Until now. The historian looked at Jace's profile on the screen. Human, no known family. Orphaned as a child, but his genetic code matched something hidden in the royal seal of Terra. He whispered, "He is the lost one, the sleeping flame." Back in the palace, Jace returned to the blade chamber. The guards tried to stop him, but the door opened on its own, symbols glowing in response to his presence. Inside, the blade glowed brighter than ever. He stepped forward. The whispers returned. "Claim what is yours, chosen soul. Fire-born." He placed a hand on the hilt. The chamber trembled slightly, but before he could pull it out, a voice shouted behind him, "Step away." A group of elite guards entered, led by General Kareth I of the princess's personal defenders. "You're not allowed here, human." Jace turned slowly. "I wasn't trying to take it." "You're a threat," Kareth said coldly. "The council is watching you. Don't forget your place." The guards left, but not before one of them secretly activated a hidden scan device analyzing the blade and Jace's connection to it. What he reported to the council was simple. The blade is responding to him. He matches the ancient DNA. Patterns. Later that night, Lyra visited the historian in secret. "What did you find about the human?" she asked. The historian hesitated, then showed her the scrolls. She read silently, slowly realizing the truth. If this is real, then Jace is not a farmer. He's a descendant of Earth's last royal line. Back in his chambers, Jace sat alone. The whispers now had words he fully understood. "You were born in silence, hidden for survival, but your blood remembers." He looked out at the stars. Something inside him was waking up, something powerful. Asterisk. The forgotten bloodline. The wind outside the royal palace howled as night fell. Jace stood in front of his mirror, staring at his own reflection. He still looked the same plain, quiet, simple, but he no longer felt like that man. Inside, something had changed. He could feel it in his bones, in his dreams. In the way, the guards looked at him now with suspicion, and sometimes fear. The whispers still echoed in his mind, louder now, clearer. "Blood of fire, heart of stars. They will try to stop you." In a hidden chamber below the palace, Princess Lyra paced across cold metal floors. The old historian stood beside her, placing several scrolls and data chips on a glowing table. "This can't be real," Lyra whispered. "It is," the historian replied. "Your simple husband carries the same royal markers as the lost Terran Emperor." She stared at a glowing image of the ancient symbol Earth's lost crown, broken during the fall of the Terran Alliance thousands of years ago. "Why would no one tell us this?" she asked. "Because your empire is the history. Earth's line was too strong, too dangerous." Her eyes narrowed. "And now that bloodline is standing in our palace." Elsewhere, in a dark stone temple across the ocean, a small group of old warriors gathered. They wore black robes marked with a star and flame. One of them opened a crystal scroll and read aloud, "The blade awakens. The bloodline rises. Fire shall return." They all looked at one another. "We must act before the council destroys him. He is not the enemy. He is the heir." The next morning, Jace returned to the blade chamber alone. This time, the guards didn't try to stop him. They weren't there. The sword pulsed with light as he stepped inside. The whispers rose once more. "You are not ready to rule. But you must remember who you are." Jace placed both hands on the hilt dot this time. It didn't resist. The moment his fingers closed, a shock of energy raced up his arms and into his mind. Visions exploded inside his head. He saw Earth before the fall, cities that touched the clouds, armies with banners of light, ships moving through stars like birds through air. He saw a man who looked just like him, stronger, older, standing at the head of a vast force, wielding the same glowing sword. Then came betrayal, allies turning on Earth, a great galactic war, and the blade, hidden before the final battle. The vision faded. Jace dropped to his knees, gasping. His voice trembled. "That was me, or someone I came from." Princess Lyra found him there moments later. "What did you see?" she asked, stepping into the glowing chamber. Jace looked at her. His eyes were filled with fire. "I think I used to be someone powerful, someone your empire feared." Lyra didn't deny it. "We've lied for generations," she admitted. "The Valerian Empire rose by destroying Earth's legacy. Your people were heroes once." Jace stood up slowly. "So they hid me," he said. "Buried my bloodline. Called us weak. Yes." He looked at the blade now resting in his hand. Its glow had calmed. "Then it's time I reminded them." Outside the chamber, General Kareth stood with 2 elite guards. He whispered into his comm. "He has the blade now. Operation Skyfall must begin before he learns too much." That night, someone crept into Jace's room with a silent weapon. But Jace wasn't there. The attacker turned and found the blade hovering mid-air, glowing red-hot. Behind it stood Jace, calm and deadly. "You came to kill a farmer," he said, quietly, "but you found something else." With one move, the attacker was down unharmed, but frozen in fear. Asterisk, wielding the unwieldable skies over Valerian Prime, turned gray as silent ships hovered far above the clouds. No warnings, no sirens. Only quiet movement, the kind that meant danger. Inside the palace, guards moved fast, not for training, for war. And in the heart of it all, Jace stood in the center of the old blade chamber, the sword resting calmly in his hand. He didn't feel fear. He felt clarity. The whispers were gone now, replaced with understanding. This blade isn't just a weapon. It's a key. Princess Lyra entered, out of breath. The council activated a defense order. "They've sent death squads to your chamber. I tried to stop them." Jace nodded once. "It's fine." Lyra stepped closer. "No, it's not. They're armed with MTech. They'll disable your blade. You have to run." Jace turned to her. "This sword doesn't run. And neither will I." Moments later, the air shifted. 6 armored soldiers stormed into the chamber, weapons charged. Faces cold. Human. Drop the weapon and kneel. Jace didn't move. I said kneel. The soldiers raised their rifles. The blade in Jace's hand pulsed with white-blue fire dot in an instant. The room lit up. The first 2 soldiers were thrown across the chamber by a wave of force. The others tried to fire, but the blade bent the energy midair, spinning it around him like a shield. He moved with impossible speed. Not wild, not angry, but precise. Controlled. Ancient. The last attacker dropped his weapon and ran. Princess Lyra watched, frozen. Her heart raced not with fear, but something else. You weren't trained here, she whispered. You were born for this. After the fight, alarms blared across the palace. Council chambers shut their doors. Ships activated lockdowns. Everywhere, people whispered, the Blade of Stars has returned. In a hidden star chamber, council members argued, he's a threat to everything we built. He's a symbol. If people see him, they'll remember Earth. Then we erase him entirely. He must disappear. That night, Lyra visited Jace. In a quiet garden overlooking the city, the blade floated beside him, hovering like a sleeping dragon. I was wrong, she said softly. You're not simple. You're the storm we never saw coming. Jace looked at her, tired but focused. I didn't ask for this, he said. But if the galaxy needs truth, I'll give it. She stepped closer. They'll try to kill you. He nodded. They already did. Then she did something unexpected. She placed her hand on his. I will stand with you. Suddenly, the sky above cracked. A massive ship, old, rusted, but powerful, dropped out of hyperspace. Not Valerian. Not Council controlled. It bore the forgotten mark of Earth. A silver flame wrapped in a star, and from its speakers came a message. To the last heir of Terra. Your fleet is waking. Inside the council tower, panic spread. He has a fleet? That's impossible. Earth's ships were destroyed. But in deep space, old Terran AI systems blinked awake. Sleep modes shut down. Weapons glowed. Coordinates locked in. Jace stood on the palace balcony, watching the ancient ship lower through the clouds. The blade in his hand whispered no longer. It roared. Royal lies uncovered. The broadcast had changed everything. Across hundreds of systems, people stared at their screens in silence. The ancient Terran ship, once thought destroyed, was real, alive, and it had spoken just 3 words. The air. Lives. Whispers spread like wildfire on mining colonies, in hidden resistance bases, even inside the homes of high-ranking Valerian nobles. And for the first time in centuries, they spoke Earth's name with respect. Back inside the palace, Princess Lyra stormed into the council chamber. 12 robed leaders stood waiting, faces tight with fear and anger. You lied to all of us, she said. You said Earth's legacy was broken. You said there was no heir. One of the elders stepped forward. It was for peace. The Terran Empire was too strong, too proud. You erased them, Lyra hissed. You rewrote history and painted humans as weak. The elder slammed a fist on the table. And it worked. Until you brought him here. Brought him? She said, laughing bitterly. I married him as a joke. I didn't know. They fell silent. Then one elder whispered, but the blade knew. Meanwhile, deep in the blade chamber, Jace stared at the hovering weapon. Now it obeyed him like an extension of his own mind. He was no longer confused. The visions were clear. Now he saw his ancestor, the Terran High Lord, betrayed by his closest. Allies. The blade had been hidden to protect the truth, not just power. This weapon remembers, Jace whispered. And it's showing me what you tried to erase. Suddenly, A wall in the chamber shifted open. Behind it, a sealed door. Carved into it were words in old Terran script. Only the true heir may enter. Jace placed his palm on the door. It opened. Inside was a vault full of ancient data crystals, relics, and battle records. One object stood at the center, a command ring, glowing with symbols. He touched it. Suddenly, dozens of Terran satellites in deep space aligned. A map appeared in the air. Hidden fleets, forgotten bases, buried weapons, all connected. All awakening. Princess Lyra entered slowly. Jace looked at her. "I know now," he said. "Your empire feared us, so they buried us." Lyra nodded. "My people were raised on those lies. But I believe you now." He looked at her, eyes calm but filled with something ancient. "It's not just about me anymore. If they erased us once, they'll do it again." She stepped closer. "Then we'll stop them. Together." But far above, the Council had already launched Operation Burnfall, a secret war plan from centuries ago. Its goal was simple. If the heir ever returned, eliminate him and everything tied to Terra. They sent a coded signal to one of their doomsday ships, a black battleship hidden on the dark side of a moon. It's a high woke, weapons armed, target locked. Valerian Prime. Back in the city, people gathered in the streets. Many were afraid, but many more were hopeful. They had seen the way Jace fought. They had seen how the blade chose him. For the first time in their lives, they questioned the stories they'd been told. And in quiet corners of the galaxy, old rebel banners began to rise. In her private chamber, Lyra received a secret transmission. An old rebel leader, face covered, in shadows, spoke. "Your husband holds the power we've waited for, but the Council won't give up. They're sending something terrible. You have to leave, now." In the skies, sensors lit up. The black battleship had arrived. Its energy core began charging. Jace stood on the palace roof, watching the distant ship emerge from the moon's shadow. "That's not a ship," he muttered. "That's a purge." Engine. The rise of the true heir. The sky cracked open. A dark shape slowly moved over Valerian Prime, the Council's purge ship. Bigger than any city, covered in black metal and glowing with red fire. Its main cannon charged silently, collecting solar energy from hidden satellites. The countdown had begun. Inside the ship, no crew was present. Just AI, cold, efficient. Deadly. Its only command: erase the air, erase Terra. In the royal palace, alarm screamed. Jace stood at the center of the highest tower, his cape blowing in the wind. The blade hovered beside him, brighter than ever, crackling with blue-white flame. Princess Lyra stood next to him, armor now ready. "Everyone is evacuating," she said. "They think the city will be destroyed." "It might be," Jace replied, calm, "unless I end it first." He closed his eyes. The command ring on his finger pulsed. Across space, ancient Terran satellites lit up like stars. Forgotten hangars opened. Old ships gray, dented, but still alive, rose from dead. Moons and asteroid fields. AI cores reactivated, and from beneath the oceans of a long-lost Terran colony, a Titan-class warship emerged, responding to his blood and his signal. "Welcome, Highborn," it said. "We have waited." As the purge ship began its final countdown, Jace jumped, but he didn't fall. The blade spun under him, and a Terran flight suit formed around his body, pulled from the blade's memory. It wrapped him in armor older than the Empire itself. He flew not with tech, but with command over the forgotten systems. The Council could never control. As he soared upward, the princess spoke over the comms. "This is Princess Lyra of Valerian Prime. I stand with the heir of Terra. We will no longer be ruled by fear." Across cities, screens flashed her words. Crowds began to cheer. Jace reached the enemy ship. He hovered before its giant cannon. The AI inside scanned him. Terran's signature confirmed. Terminate. But the blade struck first. Jace slashed forward, sending a wave of energy into the ship's hull. Metal tore like paper. Systems shorted. Missiles exploded in their silos. He flew deeper inside, blade leading the way. Security drones attacked. He dodged them like lightning. He reached the core. Swirling red orb, powering the purge weapon. He raised the blade. It whispered only one word: remember. He struck. Below, the people watched the sky turn white, then blue, then calm again. The dark ship split in two and fell in silence. But it didn't crash. The Titan-class warship had caught the falling pieces in a gravity net. JAC, he stood atop. The wreckage, glowing blade in hand, smoke rising around him. He returned to the surface. Not as a farmer, not even as a prince, but as the heir of Earth, and the man who had reminded the galaxy what it meant to be human. Princess Lyra stood beside him, no longer mocking, but proud. The council was disbanded. A new era began. Across the Jew, stars, rebel planets lit beacons of fire, symbols of the old Earth rising. He was simple, they whispered. She laughed at him. But when the blade called, the galaxy listened.